if I'd picked up a fiction book and seen a character who struggled to stay in a lecture at university, I might have gone, oh, it's not just me.
Welcome to another episode of Beneath the Page, the podcast about books and the writers behind them. I'm Steve Couch.
And I'm Sophie Beal. And today, our special guest is Alex Stone, who, in addition to the honour of being our friend, has also sold 250,000 books in total. And her first one, Perfect Daughter, is approaching the 100,000 mark in its own right, which is very exciting. Jackie Kabler called her latest release, The Quiet Sister, gripping. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
How did you start writing?
I've always written ever since I was a kid. I was always making up stories and scribbling things down. But I didn't seriously think about writing and having anybody actually reading it until about 2014. My dad was really sick at the time. I was incredibly stressed at work. I wasn't sleeping, and in the middle of the night I started writing down these stories that I was thinking about, and I realised that I'd got about 18 chapters of a novel. So I thought, well, why don't I finish it?
Brilliant.
And I truly did not expect anybody to ever read it, but I put it on my parents' Kindle that Christmas with a fake name. They had no idea I'd written a book, and my plan was that if they thought, oh my gosh, this book you've given us is absolutely terrible, they would never know. But my mum finished it first, and she was like, there's a blurb at the end of it for the next book by this author. Can I have this book, please? I was like, that's a good sign.
Yes, brilliant.
Her only criticism was, how did they get published though with this many typos? They didn't.
and was that book, did that become one of your,
It's still a work that I have. I'm working on it with my mentor at the moment.
Oh.
And so if I get time between my deadlines, my aim is to finish editing it up, and who knows, maybe I can self-publish, or we'll see what happens with it.
Cool. And is, in terms of the genre, is that the same kind of thing that you are now known for?
No, which is why it hasn't been published.
Right. Well, that leads me on to the question, what is an Alex Stone book?
Alex Stone books are all psychological thrillers. They're told from an unreliable female narrator who has had something traumatic happen in her past, in her childhood usually, and then that affects how she reacts to something traumatic that happens in the present. So they're dual timeline, then and now, as you kind of uncover both storylines and understand why the character responds the way that they do.
But dual timeline...
within their lifetime.
Yes, within a fairly narrow
It
time
can
period.
be a matter of months in some of the books.
I gather that when you submitted the first of your books to your publisher, you didn't see it as...
No,
a psychological thriller.
I thought it was romance with a suspense element, which my editor takes great delight in telling me that it really wasn't.
Is this The Perfect Daughter?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, through the process of edits, before I actually signed with them, she'd sent me some notes and said, if you would like to make some changes and resubmit. So I think through that process, and then once I had signed, of course, there is more edits, so I think it became more and more of a thriller.
But she saw that
she saw that potential.
It reminds me, Sophie will probably cut this out because whenever I talk about music she does that. it reminds me of a story.
It's just a rule.
When Glyn Johns was brought in to produce the first Eagles album, he wasn't that keen on the idea, and he just thought they were a guitar band and not a particularly good one. And when he met with them, he suddenly thought, they're a harmony band. And it sounds like your author saw a greater potential in what you've done.
Yes.
And the fact that you've now done 4 books like that, presumably you're quite happy with the direction she pushed you in.
Yeah, I'm really happy, because people were saying, well, but if it's changed the way that you write and it's changed your genre...
That's a good thing.
Exactly, but actually it just kind of shone the light on something I was trying unwittingly to do and not
Yes.
quite getting there because I didn't know that's what I was doing.
Do you feel that as a genre that opens up possibilities to you as a writer that you didn't have writing in a different form? Or are there limitations to that genre that you kind of feel you want to push against?
I haven't found limitations, no. I think I'm not very good with... originally I tried writing romance, but I found it really hard to make the story interesting and have a happy ending.
Yes.
It just felt flat for some reason. I just couldn't...
And flat is something that no one could accuse your books of being.
Thank you.
They're
That's good.
lovely twisty-turny plots.
Very
and
twisty.
lots
I couldn't
going on.
believe how many twists there were. And also, they were so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yes, I was praying until the end. Well, actually, I don't want to. Actually, I realise I shouldn't tell you.
Spoiler.
I shouldn't tell. It will be spoilers, so I'll just shut up now.
Yeah, but it's given me more opportunity to be able to think along those lines.
Yes.
You start with a question. When you're writing a psychological thriller, it starts with a question, and all the way through it is just what if.
Yes.
And I love that because there's so many possibilities.
Really, really good. I had no idea. Your book, the one we're going to talk about today, is the first psychological thriller I've ever read.
Wow.
And I had no idea that it was something I would enjoy. It was wonderful. It was really, really good.
Welcome to a new genre.
Yes. Thank you. Who are you writing for?
Oh, I would say that particularly with the Alex Stone books, I'm writing the books I wish I could have read when I was younger. And I think that's another thing that kind of factored into that style and resonated with Emily, my editor. It gives it more authenticity than perhaps I was finding when I was trying to write romance. Having my own experiences with burnout, with agoraphobia, I didn't know about these kind of topics. And although, yes, there is mental health books, there's psychology books, there's all these amazing resources, unless you know that they apply to you, how do you know to read the book?
Yes.
Whereas if I'd picked up, because I was an avid reader even as a kid, if I'd picked up a fiction book and seen a character who struggled to stay in a lecture at university, I might have gone, oh, it's not just me.
Because it's the storytelling that
Exactly.
really gets the point across, doesn't it? You can read all this stuff in a medical textbook,
And it doesn't
mean
apply.
anything.
It's just,
No,
it's too
exactly.
technical sometimes.
You mentioned agoraphobia. I know I've heard you talk about this before.
Yes.
You had a comment from a reader
Yes.
on the subject there.
Yeah, I've had a few since actually. So, but one in particular that you're thinking of is the lady wrote to me to say her husband has always suffered with agoraphobia since before they were married. He's never really been able to explain it to her, so she's never really understood what it is that he goes through. And she said that from reading the book and seeing that character go through that journey and not just the stereotypical kind of very limited view that you see on movie, she understands him a little bit more.
It's worth writing that book just for that.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
which
it?
book was it?
That's The Other Girlfriend.
The Other Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because you've written 4. Do you want to trot through the titles?
So my debut was The Perfect Daughter. That's the one that got my book deal. And
The one that wasn't romance.
Exactly, the one that isn't romance. I mean, there is romance elements in all of them, but the focus of the story is the suspense.
Yeah.
And then the second one is The Other Girlfriend. The third was The Good Patient, and most recently, this year in March, I have the Quiet Sister.
And all of those books, as you've said, feature an unreliable narrator.
Yes.
Now, what is it about the unreliable narrator that you like so much?
Oh, there's so much you can do with that. And I think, again, it's always nerve-wracking admitting this, but I think my character, the main character, is often the way that I think.
Okay.
So putting them in unreliable narrator, I think I am an unreliable narrator in my own life. I am constantly second-guessing myself, constantly overthinking, and I be able to put that in a book.
It's amazing.
It's therapeutic.
Well,
You say that all of the main characters is how you think. Would you say that one of them is more you than the others, or is that too reductive?
It's really hard to answer because I think there's There's elements of me in all four of
Yes.
the main characters of the books, but there's different elements.
Yes.
So with the other girlfriend, the part that was me is the agoraphobia,
Yes.
the things that she's struggling with there. But then the rest of it is built around her, so she is a separate identity.
And once, when you're building a character, you get to a point where they take on their own critical mass
Oh,
and their own
absolutely.
identity,
Yeah,
and they cease to be whoever they're.
No, I can't
Inspired by.
even settle on their name until I can see them.
Yes.
The number of times I change character names in my books is ridiculous because they just don't feel
Like
fully formed
Yes.
until you reach a certain point, and then it's that I can see them now.
Yeah, so mental health is always a theme in your books.
Yes.
And you would think that this is coming as a newbie to psychological thrillers. I would have expected this would have made them very depressing, but they're really uplifting.
Phew, my book's not depressing.
Not depressing. So you know, put that on the back of the next book.
Thank you for the quote.
There's lots of hope.
Yeah.
And in this last one, it felt like the theme was the truth sets you free.
Yes.
And that was really lovely, just watching the truth occur to her.
Yes.
And her life getting better noticeably better as a result. I
Yeah.
loved that.
But it's also about how she has to be brave enough to like face the truth
Yes.
and dig into it and not
Yes.
just accept the lie that she
Yes,
believes.
she's a really strong character. She's really suffered, but she's not putting up with anything once
No.
she realises what's going on.
Yeah.
I love that. It
I
was
think
really good.
at the start you don't know that she's strong because
No, you don't.
You see what
Yes.
because she's lying herself.
Yes.
And she looks like, oh, she's manipulative.
Yes.
She's weak. She's.
You're worried that she's as
Yeah.
awful as she thinks she is.
One of the interesting things to talk about the truth in your books is that as a reader, you don't know what the truth is for quite some way.
That's
by
'cause
the end.
I don't know.
Yeah. but you lay lots of false trails for the reader and steering us into thinking one thing before revealing another,
Yes.
which is great because as a reader I don't know where I am, and I'm trying to work out where I am, but enjoying the not knowing,
The
Yes.
intrigue.
and then when you get the resolution, that's the payoff.
Yes.
And you deliver those very well.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes they're easier than other times. They're
Yes.
really hard.
This was a really difficult book for you to write. I mean, people have said it's your best one yet,
I
haven't
know,
they?
that
Which
was
is amazing.
mind-blowing to me.
But
'cause
you
it
really,
was.
really laboured over this book, didn't you?
A whole host of family health issues and personal health issues all kind of collided with the edits coming back for the first draft, and so I took a bit of time away from writing because it was just
Yeah.
so intense.
Yeah.
So there has been quite a big gap between my last book and this one, and I thought because of the way that I was picking it up, putting it down, picking it
Yes.
up, putting it down, that the reader would be able to feel that in the story.
Mm.
But when I actually read it, like all the way through, I was like, oh, it does. How did I do that?
Oh, because I know you in real life, and I was picking up on your misery. I assumed it wouldn't be quite as good as the others.
I've heard you in the past saying that your main characters, you don't like to think of them as being broken,
Yes.
but that's possibly the word I would have used to describe them.
Yes.
Certainly all of your main characters have a vulnerability
Yes.
and a sense of carrying emotional baggage from the past. If the term for them isn't broken, how would you describe them?
Oh gosh. I think that's the point though, that they think they're broken. My aim is to give the reader an insight into why they think they're broken,
Yes.
how the character's own eyes kind of get opened to the reality of the situation that they're in and what that means for them, and how that kind of translates into, I'm not broken, this is a real external force that caused this, or it's an illness that caused this, and there is a way through it. So there's a lot of research that goes into the books that doesn't really get onto the page because they're so heavily in depth to put that in a subtle way for the
Yes.
character.
But you need it for your,
I need it, yeah.
your scaffolding around what you're building.
They're traumatised
Yes.
in some way or
Yes.
another. They are traumatised.
Broken
Yes.
could be taken as meaning shattered beyond repair,
Yeah.
rather than wounded with the potential for healing.
Exactly, yes. And I think, again, this is why I think these books have perhaps resonated, because they, and they are the books that I wish I could have read, because I did have that view that I was broken. I should be able to do this. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do what everybody else thinks is normal?
Yes.
And I think there's so many people that experience that sense of emotion
Being wrong.
exactly within whatever aspect it is, not
Yes.
necessarily agoraphobia, but it can be so many different things.
And between them, your
Yes.
heroines have got quite the collection.
Oh yes. Yes, I certainly won't run out of mental health topics to put in my books though, will I? So
There's a saying I heard recently, which I'd heard before, I was reminded of: hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that your characters are hurt people.
Yes.
Not just the main ones, but in every case, I think,
yes,
the people
that
or some of
surround
the
them,
people around
yeah.
them. And the thing that struck me is that there's a difference in your books between hurt people who hurt people and hurt people who choose not to and choose something more than that. And I guess what I want to ask is, how do you feel your books respond to that statement that hurt people hurt people?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is I don't think it's a solid rule that applies to everybody. I think there is an element. You can go in one of two ways. And I think that's, that's going to be down to personality and experiences and how they've struggled and how they've found their way through whatever it has been to where they are now. So yes, definitely some of the characters in the books are hurt people who hurt people. And maybe they can change if they see it, but they have to be willing to see what they do and where it came from. Whereas with the main characters, that's what makes them the main characters.
That's
that
their journey.
willingness to kind of shift that view and learn and kind of take on that introspective look, which is kind of what I did. So I think, again, even though the stories are fiction, it reflects back, and this is why I say I'm in all of those characters in some way, because that willingness to learn, that panic and fear when you're faced with it to start with, it's throughout the stories.
And I think that's where the hope that Sophie mentioned, that's where that comes out, and why that's so powerful.
Thank you.
In The Quiet Sister, you've got the meticulous characterisation of narcissists down to a T. Particularly Mia feels so real. I feel like I know her. And did you have any rules of thumb for getting her narcissism right?
Not consciously.
No.
I think if you haven't encountered narcissism in some form
You're
in your
very
life,
lucky.
Exactly. So I think, she's probably an amalgamation of lots of small things, lots of bigger things, and possibly lots of fictitious ones that I've just kind of escalated and made up. But it's a balancing act.
Yes.
I do remember one of my books, one of the characters was loosely based around somebody who had been a narcissistic personality in my life, and my mentor said, "This is completely unbelievable." So I had to tone it down, but it was literally, that one was pretty much word for word what had happened in that particular scene.
Wow.
And I had to take it out.
Another aspect that all your books have in common is they're all set in Dorset. Why have you done that? Is it just the convenience of that's where you live and therefore it's easy to set things out, or does Dorset have a sense of character that brings something more to the stories?
Oh, definitely has a sense of character. And again, it's kind of another element of my own journey that goes into the book. We haven't really talked about how I kind of ended up in Dorset, but I was on a career break. I was a burnt out accountant to the point where I collapsed in the office at work. and thought, yeah, something needs to change. So I took a career break. I was just going to come down here, live by the beach, fulfill a childhood dream of getting to live by the place you only ever get to go to for summer holidays. Not that I'd ever been to Dorset, but just the beach. It was the beach. I didn't care where. And then I would go back to normal life. Common sense would prevail, the bills would be calling, and I'd have to go back. But coming down here at that point in my life and writing these books at that same time, I got the idea for The Perfect Daughter while I was on that career break, walking along Boscombe Beach, and it all became part of it. The places in the books are places that meant something to me as my own kind of journey of recovery and exploration of, who am I and who do I want to be, and reassessing my life. And they're places that I was exploring and finding for the first time. So they are quite powerful to me, and therefore quite powerful to the books.
Yes. The latest book, The Quiet Sister, is set specifically in Bournemouth, but it's not really a postcard seaside sunny Bournemouth setting, is it?
No. No, so again it's very much inspired by that career break I took. You would think I've thought this through a bit better. I planned to take a career break. I ummed and ahed about it so long that when I actually took it, it was October. I came to the British beach in October.
Good timing.
So when I got here, it wasn't that idyllic, seaside, sunny, lying on the beach kind of place that I was thinking I was coming to.
And does that feed into the
completely
psychological thriller vibe?
Exactly. I think it's because I saw a different side of it. This kind of stormy, rugged, wild kind of grey clouds and atmospheric that who knows, maybe I'd still be writing romance if I'd come in June.
Yes. Probably.
May well have done.
So since you have come down to Bournemouth, we're all very grateful because you've become quite a big part of the writing community. And tell us about Author Events, your latest baby.
Yeah, so this is something that I started during the time I was supposed to be writing The Quiet Sister, actually. Mostly because when I couldn't write, and I found that sitting at home, because I write at home, I am an accountant still part-time, but I work remotely, everything was done from my desk. And knowing I had this deadline, knowing I had this word count, and with everything going on around me, I couldn't write. And what I discovered was that what I needed was to get out, to go for a coffee, have a cup of tea with fellow authors. And we didn't have to talk about my book. It wasn't fixing my book. It was just talking about writing, talking about shared problems and experiences. And I came back feeling so much inspired, so invigorated, so much more in sync with who I was as a writer, that it helped me to get back into it. So it just started as a coffee morning, and from there I was given the opportunity to put on an event in the evening at Sobo Sommelier. So now we're there every month, and they just invited me and said, would you like to do a book group or something in this space? And I thought, well, I can't talk every month, people are going to be very bored. So I thought, why not open it up? Why not invite people from this little coffee morning community that has grown from 6 to 25 in like 2 months? And now they come and they talk about their books. So the last Tuesday of every month from 6:30 p.m. And it's going to be crime next month. And then I've got Jackie Cabler coming down in July. I've got Rachel McLean coming later in the year.
Brilliant.
We had Erin Thomas Wong as a recent guest, talking about how boundaries and visibility are helpful to creatives. So there's a whole variety. It's not just listening to other authors, it's listening to industry professionals. I'm going to have editors coming along. And the vibe and the community that it's building on from the Bournemouth Writing Festival, really.
Yes.
And in kind of a smaller way that keeps going throughout the year.
And are there any other guests you've had that have been particularly memorable?
Oh, yes. I had the first one I had was amazing. Steve Couch, have you ever
I've heard of
him?
him, yes. Yes, he's very good.
Absolutely. And it's not fair then to not mention that my second guest was Paula Harmon.
Who was also very good.
Very good.
So now we've ticked them all off.
Talking about favourites.
Yes, talking about favourites. Of your books, which is your favourite?
Yeah, I always struggle with this because I have two favourites for different reasons. So The Perfect Daughter is the book that
Changed your life.
Exactly. It made my dream come true.
Yes.
And I'm still in Dorset because of that book, basically. But the one that I really, really was passionate about writing and wanted to write for a few years was The Good Patient.
Right, yes.
One of the characters in that book, and he does know this, it is based on somebody real, and it is... Lauren in the book kind of gets to learn the things that I learnt through that relationship that probably is the reason that I'm down here in the first place.
Right.
So to me that book feels really personal, and I'm trying to be so careful not to give any spoilers, because that relationship, the real life relationship, had the same pattern and the same conclusion as the book does.
Yes.
And you'll see if you read that book, then
that was
why.
actually the first of your books that I read and very much enjoyed. So yes, I know what you're
trying not to say.
And yes, don't spoil it for the readers.
No, I don't want to. But yes, so the character, he plays a doctor in the book. He wasn't a doctor in real life. I've had some people say, he was your doctor? No, he was not my doctor. He was not my doctor. No, he has a completely different profession. But I said to him, I didn't want to put his real profession in.
Yes.
What would you do if you didn't do what you do? And he said, I'd be a doctor. So that is where...
Right.
And that kind of set the whole structure of that book then.
And yes, that feels like it's such an integral part of the story.
It became such a vocal part of, even down to the title, The Good Patient. You can see where that has influenced that book.
So what's coming up next then?
So in October, we have our very first Romance Writing Festival, Bournemouth. That's going to be on the 17th and 18th of October.
Even though you're not a romance writer, according to your editor.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened. So it's Bournemouth Writing Festival that are branching out. And myself and Alison May, romance writer, she definitely is a romance writer, are on the board of directors working with Dominic Wong. But yes, I am a crime writer organising a romance festival. My publisher is coming. She's doing some of the one-to-ones in the afternoon tea, which is fantastic. But she was curious about, why are you organising this?
I've told you before, you're not a romance writer.
I obviously still really want to be a romance writer. So yes, I will be there. I'm organising another author marketplace like we had in the Bournemouth Writing Festival. But yes, I will not be selling my books. See me at Waterstones on the 24th of July. In the evening, I'm going to be there doing a talk and signing books.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Tickets for that are on Waterstones' website. It's the Waterstones Bournemouth Arcade. I just realised you were about to ask that.
Brilliant.
Finishing up now, where can people find you online?
So for Alex Stone, it's alexstoneauthor.com. And if you are an author or you are a reader and you want to come along to some of the author events, it's authorevents.co.uk.
Awesome. And on social media?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms, so at Alex Stone Author or at Author Events.
And where can people buy your books?
Pretty much everywhere.
Excellent.
If they're not on the shelf in a bookshop, they can order them in. Waterstones stock them in Bournemouth, and of course, they're all online.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And they have got the most beautiful covers.
Thank
they are
you.
so gorgeous.
I am absolutely blown away every time I get the new covers through. It's amazing.
Really
Fabulous. Well, Alex, thank you so much for
you.
coming in. We've
Thank you very
thoroughly
much.
enjoyed having you, as we knew we would.
Yes.
And
It's a great excuse to have a chat.
and yeah, we can't wait for the first one to get through the 100,000.
Oh yes, I'm so
Because
excited.
we expect a party.
Oh
Yes.
yes. I mean, I love throwing parties.